Welcome into this weekend's MLS show. The MLS action just keeps on coming, fast and furious. We just had games on Wednesday and Thursday, and we're right back at it this weekend with MLS Matchday 25, with games going down on Saturday and Sunday. Now, I was one San Jose goal away from a perfect midweek slate, but still managed to turn a profit going 2-1 of those picks. Let's get into this weekend's top MLS predictions, and we have 8 games on Saturday and 6 on Sunday. We'll combine these into 4 different parlay selections here. I'm going to start off with 2 here on Saturday. Columbus Crew and Toronto FC. Toronto lost 2-1 at home to Orlando on Wednesday. Columbus beat Nashville 2-0 on Wednesday. They've won 3 straight by a combined score of 11-1, and they only have 3 losses in 19 games. Those will come to Miami, Pachuca, and Cincinnati, all games on the road. Last year, these teams drew 1-1 in Toronto. Columbus won 2-0 in Ohio. Columbus is the home team. Here again for this one, TFC just find ways to lose. They were up 1-0. They lost 2-1 with the winner being an own goal. They were drawn 1-1 with seconds to go in the game prior to that, and their keeper forgets to check behind them and had the ball stolen from him, kicked into an open net. They just find ways to lose. They're 0-2-6 in their past 8. They've lost 5 straight. They've given up multiple goals in 7 of 8. To me, there's just no reason to think that they can go to Columbus and win right now. The Crew have 1 loss at home this season, and I'm not betting that the second loss comes at home to Toronto, so we'll kick this off with Columbus to win. Next up, Cincinnati and Inter Miami. The shocking loss in New England for Cincinnati is quickly being forgotten by Cincinnati, who have won 1-0 and 3-2 since. Both away from home versus Dallas and DC. They're 11-0-2 and 13. They've scored in 18 of 19. One issue, though, is they have given up a goal or more in 7 of their past 8. And with a slew of defensive absentees, that might be a tough trend to reverse against the highest scoring team in the league, that being Inter Miami. Miami just keeps on winning. No Messi, no problem. It's 4 straight 2-1 wins, 2 of which have come on the road. 3 of 4 recent wins have come on the road as well, and they'll hit the road here again as well. Miami's second stringers, they're basically just as good as most teams' first stringers. You can always count on them getting chances to score and put Miami in a chance to win the game. They have just 1 loss in 14 games. They haven't failed to score a goal in 8 games, and they've only failed to do so once in their past 18. The only issue for them, also defense, where they've conceded in 7 straight games, making bets on both teams to score in over 2.5, 7-0 as well. At 77%, only SKC have seen more of their games cash the both teams to score bet than Miami this season. So naturally, I'm going both teams to score here between Cincinnati and Miami, paired with a Columbus win. We can get plus 130 odds on that bet. Parlay number 2, let's stick on Saturday here. Orlando and DC United, pass scores between these teams. 3-2 Orlando back in April this season. If we look further back, 3-1, 1-1, 2-1, 5-3, and 2-1. Orlando has scored versus DC now in 7 straight as well, plus in 17 of 19 all-time meetings. But the both teams to score bet between these teams has also gone 14-5, so it's usually goals from both teams. Orlando was always a team I just find hard to trust, though. They were undefeated in 3 if we go back to May, then they were winless in 5. Now they've won 2 of 3 after beating TFC 2-1 this week. That's a lot of teams are beating TFC right now. They've scored 2, 2, 4, 2, and 1 goals in their last 5 games, but they've given up 1, 4, 2, 2, and 3 goals themselves in the last 5 games. Both teams scoring over 2.5. Naturally, you can do the math, has gone 5-0. You could also up that to both teams to score even over 3.5. That would still be 4-1 in their last 5 games. Now, what I trust less, though, than Orlando is DC, and specifically DC's defense. They lost again on Wednesday, 3-2 at home to Cincinnati. That makes them winless in 10, where they've conceded in all 10 of those games, plus in 16 straight, as well as multiple goals in 5 of 7. So for me, it could be an Orlando win here at home, or both teams to score is generally the trend between these teams. Those are 2 certainly great options by themselves, or simply Orlando to score. Very simple option here, because I don't trust Orlando to get, even when you think Orlando might start playing well, they never usually do. Let's move on to a Canadian rivalry here. Montreal and Vancouver. It's an all-Canadian matchup. Last won 2-1 by the Caps in the Canadian Championship last June, 2-1. Caps are 4-0-1 in their last 5 meetings, so they've won 4 of 5 against Montreal. Home teams, though, have won 12 of the past 13, and there's just been 1 road win and no draws between them. Each of the last 9 meetings between them have seen 2 or more goals. 6 of the last 9 meetings between them have seen 3 or more goals. This season, Montreal lost in New York Wednesday 2-0, and they have just 2 wins in 8, but they also have just 2 losses in 8, so have been drawing some games. Vancouver won away to Minnesota, and they're hot again. Winners of back-to-back games and winners of 4 of 6 as well. They've scored multiple goals in 5 of those 6, but they've also given up a goal or more in 12 straight games. Montreal is 16-5 to over 1.5 totals. Vancouver is 18-2 to over 1.5 totals. So there's always basically 2 goals or more for these teams this season. I'm all for the both teams to score bet if that's the way you want to go, or simply over 1.5. Home teams are generally pretty good, so just in case, we can be super safe and just ask for 2 here, because I think where I'll get the bulk of the odds will come in this RSL Atlanta United bet and preview here. I can't trust Atlanta. Given their start, they are technically improved of late with just 2 losses in their last 7 MLS games, but it's still 3 wins in 16, and a win and a draw over a struggling DC and St. Louis team, and a fluky win in the last seconds versus a struggling TFC Tide, who had a brain fart by keeper Luka Gavran. Don't mean things are much better for the Five Stripes, in my opinion. Now, Wednesday, they were back in the L column, losing to 11th place New England Revolution 2-1, and the Revs were even without Carlos Gil. Atlanta were without Thiago Almada, who's reportedly been sold to Botafogo in Brazil. He's in Brazil now. We can see it on Twitter, so we've likely seen the last of him and the last of Atlanta looking competitive for a little bit now. They'll head to Utah to face RSL, where RSL are 7-1-2 at home. Overall, RSL are 11-7-3 on the season. That's just 3 losses all year. And after their 15-game unbeaten run, RSL lost 1-0 to the LA Galaxy last week, but that time in the L column was short-lived. They beat Houston 3-2 Wednesday, and all 3 of those goals came from players not named Chicho Arango. However, they could have had even more goals. The XG in that game was 4.11 to just 0.78 for RSL versus Houston. Let's go for an RSL win. That comes in around -180 odds by itself, so it's not great alone. But when I add just 2 goals between Montreal and Vancouver and Orlando simply to score, we're coming in at +110 odds. That's what I'll do in that parlay. Now let's head over to Sunday and do 2 different parlays here as well. Starting with SKC and FC Dallas. Dallas fell behind early versus Portland early on Thursday, but they stormed back to win 3-2. They now have 3 wins in 5. Bets on both teams to score have gone 11-5 in their recent games. Dallas has seen 71% of their games end that way this season as well. Now on the road, Dallas isn't abysmal, 0-3-7, still winless, but they have at least scored in 8 of those 10 games, making both teams to score 8-2 in their road games this season. SKC were tied 1-1 with Colorado this week before giving up a late PK in the 94th, and they went on to lose again 2-1. It's now only 2 wins in 17 games for Peter Vermees' side. SKC have scored in 19 of 22. They've conceded in 20 of 22, making both teams to score bets for SKC this season 18-4, and that's the highest rate of any team. Now, not just that, the both teams to score over 2.5 has gone 9-2 and 16-3 in recent SKC games, and SKC has given up multiple goals in 9 of 11 and also in 13 of 16 recent games. SKC have seen 82% of their games end with both teams to score. Like I said, that's the most. Now, that's a lot of both teams to score bets cashing between both of these teams from all those stats I just rattled off. And that's naturally how this matchup usually ends up as well when they meet up. Last year, each team won 2-1. Prior to that, in seasons prior, 2-1, 2-2, 4-2 in extra time, so 2-2 in regulation, 2-2, and 3-1. So that's 6 straight, both teams to score, and over 2.5s between SKC and FC Dallas. Let's just ask for at least 1 from both here and go both teams to score, and pair it with 1 more, both teams to score, and we'll go San Jose and Chicago here. The Fire got a win, but they are still last in the East. They were down 3-1 in the second half versus Philly on Wednesday until they got goals in the 82nd, the 89th, and the 91st, and 2 by Hugo Kuipers, who now has goals in 5 of 6 and 6 total goals in that time. They won, but they conceded multiple goals for the 3rd straight game, 9 total goals in that time. They did keep alive a streak of 11 games where they've conceded as well. They've also scored in 8 straight, though. Both teams scored over 2.5, has gone 5-0. Both teams scored by just alone 8-0. San Jose, they're also last. They're last in the West. So we have a battle of last place teams here. They lost 2-0 in St. Louis on Wednesday and 3-0 to LA on the weekend. So those shutout defeats have been tanking my San Jose both teams to score bets, as I'll admit, I bet them both teams to score in their games the last 2 and have gone 0-2. I'm going to give it one more try here this week. They've still scored in 18 of 23 overall games this season. And if they can get that goal, hopefully that goal comes early, because they've been outscored 20-1 in the final 15 minutes of the game. So if it gets to the end of the game and they've not scored, that might not happen. But I'm not going to trust Chicago's defense to keep a clean sheet. So we'll go both teams to score between San Jose and Chicago. Both teams to score between SKC and Dallas, coming in at plus 135. And we still have plenty more games to get to here on Sunday. There's 3 more that I'm going to include in this final parlay. Houston Dynamo, LAFC. The Dynamo came out strong in Utah, scoring just 8 minutes in, but they fell behind 2-1, drew 2-2 on an OG, and went on to lose 3-2. Now that score was close, but RSL had tons of chances. And if not for a few key saves by Steve Clark, who had 8 saves, the score could have been much, much worse. RSL dominated the XG counter at 4.11 to 0.78. Franco Esbar will miss out for Houston this weekend with yellow card accumulation. Prior to that loss, though, the Dynamo were 3-3-0, so that's no losses in 6. They've still scored in 9 straight, and they've scored multiple goals in 6 of 7. They'll meet LAFC here. They'll be hosting LAFC in Houston. LAFC are coming off a huge 2-1 El Tráfico win over the Galaxy on Thursday. They let in shots 22-10, shots on target 7-4, plus let in XG 3.13 to 1.02. LAFC are just getting goal contributions from everywhere right now. Kai Kamara scored off a corner in the 38th. He has 3 goals in 4 games and is second on the all-time MLS scoring charts right now with 147 goals. Dennis Mwanga had the winner minutes later from a PK. Mateusz Bogusz now has 10 straight MLS games where he's had a goal contribution. In his last 8 games, his 8 goals and 4 assists. So you cannot just target just Mwanga anymore. LAFC are loaded and looking great, even without Giroud here yet. LAFC are in the better form right now, undefeated in 12 games in all competitions with 11 wins. And they have just 1 loss in 17 games. But Houston, prior to that last loss, have been in pretty good form themselves. They'll have the extra rest having played Wednesday versus LAFC, who played on Thursday. LAFC could have a slight letdown after a huge rivalry game at the Rose Bowl in El Tráfico. Now, I can't bet on LAFC losing right now. I do think it could be tight, though. It could be both teams to score or a draw. Let's go both teams to score. Next up, LA Galaxy and Minnesota United. The Loons have to hope the Galaxy look past them after the El Tráfico loss on Thursday, 2-1. It was LA's just their second loss in 12. That snapped a 4-game winning streak and a 3-game shutout streak, but kept alive an 8-game scoring streak. Minnesota's slumping hard right now. They have 5 straight losses where they've been outscored 14-6. They're also winless in 6 games, and they only have 1 win in 9. They could find some inspiration in knowing they've been strong versus the Galaxy recently. These teams drew 2-2 in May, and Minnesota is 3-3-1, so that's just 1 loss in 7 in the last recent meetings with the Galaxy. The other trend here between these teams, outside of Minnesota being strong, is lots of goals. These last 7 scorelines: 2-2, 5-2, 4-3, 3-2, 1-1, 3-3, and 3-0. Now, I can't bet on a Minnesota win here on the road. They've not been good. The Galaxy have been great. The most recent loss notwithstanding. This could be an LA win. Could be both teams scoring over 2.5 or simply over 1.5. The Loons are 20-1 to over 1.5. The Galaxy are 18-4 to over 1.5. Both of these teams, some way, somehow, see 2 goals in their games almost all the time. One final leg of this parlay, Portland and Nashville. These teams are about the same in their respective conferences. Nashville is 7th in the East with 26 points. The Yotes, not in bad form. They have just 4 losses in 12, but 2 of those have come in their last 2 games, losing 2-1 to Miami and then 2-0 to Columbus on Wednesday. Now, most teams do lose to those 2 teams, so we can't really knock them for those 2 losses there, but most teams are also losing to Portland right now. The Timbers are 6th in the West, 30 points. They've been rising up the standings since a poor start to the season. Now, they came into Thursday's game undefeated in 7, but that did come to an end as they lost 3-2 on the road in Dallas. Only Miami, LAFC, RSL, and the LA Galaxy have scored more goals than Portland, though, who have also scored multiple goals in 7 of their last 8 games. If you're looking for a straight bet, I would lean to Portland here. They've been great. I would go Portland to win as a straight bet, or just ask them to score a goal, because if we pair together Portland to score over 1.5 with LA and Minnesota, and both teams to score with Houston and LAFC, will come in at minus 102 odds in that parlay. Those will be my 4 parlay picks. I'll have them all included in a graphic here at the end of this video. Before you make your MLS bets this weekend, if you're looking to take advantage of some great sports betting bonuses this summer, then look no further. Check out the link in the comments of this video, signupexpert.com/shredthespread. You can see all the best sports books in your location. You can claim the best bonus bets, risk-free bets, bonus offers, and more from a wide range of online legal sports books in your area. Now, all the bets I just went over, I've created all these bets over at Bet365 and Caesars. I often find Caesars have the better odds when it comes to scoring props. But if you're betting on teams to win, Bet365 has a great option where if your team goes up by 2 goals, you get the auto win and don't have to worry if there's a comeback there. So right now, those 2 books, now these offers can obviously change by month and by region, but right now, Bet365, new customers can get $10. Bet $10 and get $50 in bonus bets, or get a first bet safety net up to $1,000. Or at Caesars, you can get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet loses. You can see these offers and more by checking out that link down there in the comments. Be sure to check it out, and best of luck with your MLS bets this weekend.